that could be potentially on the horizon, could be showing up here in a matter of moments, could have had the deadline yesterday, could be the deadline of August 10th, first preseason game that we talked about. But John, what we forgot to fully embrace yesterday, and I put my hand in air that I need to do a better job. I'm pointing the thumb right here and all other four fingers right back at myself. That has got to be the conversation of the youngsters that are having their moment up at Lambeau Field, because what also happens when the quarterbacks report, more importantly, the rookies are also reporting. And this is big days for these rookie kids, because I can only imagine with 3 days before all the vets come in, these young men got to be absolutely swimming and or just chomping at the bit to get going here on Monday when that first team practice happens on the 22nd.
Yeah, I think back to what your rookie year is like, and the off season is fine. The off season is the off season. You get there later than everybody else does. So not as much now. Now the draft is like a week after the off season starts, so they do the workouts for a week. Then there's a draft, and there's another week, and then those rookies show up for rookie mini camp. That first. Call it the second Friday of what the offseason is. It used to be a much bigger turnaround. It used to be a larger turnaround than that. The vets were there for a solid month and a half, 2 months before the rookies showed up. And then the rookies are showing up. The vets have been already working out, pumping for about 6 to 8 weeks. They're
feeling
looking all
good.
swole.
Yep.
Yeah. When the rookies come rolling in, real intimidating moment there to come rolling into offseason back. But that's the off-season camp, and you don't put pads on, and nothing's super serious. And, practice is practice. You're running around, but you're not hitting really. And it's kind of low key. But when you show up to training camp, man, oh man, does the level go up a bit? And do you ever feel really just out of place as a rookie? Because all the vets are coming in, they got smiles, they're dapping each other up, they got special handshakes, they got parking spots that they're already in. And I didn't show up early like these rookies do, like the Packer rookies do, like the rookies around training camps do now. They show up early. They show up for a few days, and they go over install 1, and they go over install 2, and maybe even install 3.
Oh, that's nice. Dip their toes in the water a little bit.
Yeah, I saw wide receivers coach Jason Vrabel last week, and I asked, I said, Vrabes, what do you guys actually do? What is Jordan Love going to actually do with the rookies here the first couple days before the vets get in? I mean, it seems odd to me that Jordan Love and the quarterback show up and the rookie show up, like pitchers and catchers for spring training. Okay,
makes sense.
They got to get their arms, grooving before you hit. Maybe quarterbacks do that the same way. But rookies and quarterbacks, and that seems kind of weird. And he said, John, all we do is go over install 1, install 2, make sure these guys, they'll hit these installs a couple times. When I came in, Billy, I'm telling you, it was a show. It was the first time I got an introduction to what the NFL was. You pull up at a dorm, there are hundreds of cameras, there are hundreds of fans, and you are thinking to yourself, this is just to walk with a sleeping bag and a pillowcase and a couple duffel bags worth of clothes into a dormitory.
That's all we're doing right now.
Is crazy.
Well, and then also I can get myself settled in before the vets make me come in and move all their stuff into the rooms and get some TVs. I can only assume like that's the other part of it. If indeed the dorms aren't necessarily a thing, there's obviously you're just reporting, pulling up for work, and then go home and clock in, clock out, and go back to maybe the extended stay if you're not one of the top some picks. But you wonder for the majority of it, and we talked about it for one of the reasons why Jordan Love and a little bit more of the motivation for him to get this thing done here quicker, sooner rather than later, is the feeling of leading the team. That might feel important to him. I also just like the fact that it, to me, also feels like when the freshmen move into college just a couple of days earlier. You can walk around the school, you can walk around the campus and figure out where your class is without 30,000 people going in here. You can try to figure out where you're going to go eat lunch without having, your neck get broken left and right because you're like, holy cow, these are college girls. This is an impressive situation. Like I assume, and just the layman part of me, John, felt like this was a bunch of icebreaker games, but maybe that's more of the rookie mini camp when no pads are coming on. Now everybody is rested, so to speak, because these rookies as well, this 4 or 5 weeks since they left from OTAs, really the only time that they end up having off in this year before they start up the first year into the NFL.
and not even really off. They might have got a day or two off. They might have taken a weekend or two to hang out with their friends or headed to a beach for a very short vacation.
Go out on someone's boat in Door County, right? Like Watson and them were doing last year.
Yeah, but this is, man, this is the hardest year of your life, going straight from college into training for the combine, into the combine pro day circuit, into a draft, straight into an off-season program for an NFL team. And then 6 weeks. You better not take 3 of those 6 weeks off. You better not take 2 of those 6 weeks off. You take 1 week off, okay, but then you get it rolling right back again and get into this thing. And then they show up earlier. It's a very tough season for rookies, and there's a lot of firsts, and with every first there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of nerves, and there's a lot of pressure, and that's what they're going to start feeling, each and every time they take the field for the first time they take the field as rookies, which I'm sure they're doing walkthroughs in the cricks. Oh man, I got to make sure I get this formation right. I got to make sure I get this motion right. A lot of nerves there. Then, okay, we got this install 1, install 2 down, install 3. Okay, now we're going to go out on the field with the vets and actually do a practice in front of fans. It's going to be the first time we're going to have practice in front of fans. Been in front of media. Media's seen us practice. Matt Schneidman was there taking pictures of Rob Domofsky's head and practice in the background and posting that stuff. We know that, but now we're going to do it with fans there, and it's going to be a live environment the first few days. It's going to be a couple thousand. You remember the environment last year, Billy.
Yep.
Last year, the environment with a new quarterback and a fresh young team and no expectations anymore. Now there's expectations with this young team. This environment's going to be even bigger next week. Now, saw thunderstorms Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
We don't love that. We don't love that. No.
But don't love thunderstorms all 3 of the first 3 days. We'll see how that pans out, because I can only imagine. Here we go into the Cricker, into the Don Hudson Center.
Just hear the horn go off right in the middle of one of the segments. Okay. Yeah, we can't pull the Ethernet cord. It's give me a couple of minutes. All right, you guys hold us down there in the back of the studio. I'm gonna get it to the back of my car, and then maybe we'll fire up some of the rest of that. That is gonna be fun of us dodging some potential weather coming up at training camp. In that
there's
spot.
A lot of days. Do we have an umbrella? Do we have an awning? No. We don't have
working Costco, on the awning.
Working
on the awning. Actually, I was told working on a cabana was the way that it was.
That's what I'm saying.
Me, so,
okay. So
working
Red Hot Tim Scott, if you are listening,
working on that.
$100 at Costco, and it's Prime Days still. Maybe potentially hit that thing. We're gonna need that canopy.
Yes.
That $100 canopy from Costco that takes 2 people to open. It's just couple buttons, beep beep beep.
I'm glad you said that it would be $100. There was a potential $600 thought for the cabana.
So that's what I walked in on.
Yeah, we'll be able to clear that up. We'll be able to clear
we don't need one that big.
No, we don't need that
big.
No, we don't need that good. Listen, I like the Kirkland idea, right? I appreciate that. It's one of my favorite spots to go to. You mentioned the pressure, though, of what they're feeling and the eyes on them. Some of these cats, John, like Kalen King, we've talked about a bunch of different times. Played in front of 100,000 people. How many different times playing in the Big Ten at Penn State, right?
But 2 years big time games.
But that's
2 years big time receivers.
Oh, absolutely.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
playing guys that are top 5 picks. And the pressure, though, for all these guys is that it's unfair for me to ask like what spot ends up with more feeling of pressure in terms of a guy like Kalen King, who all he's seemingly put out messaging wise since the draft of understanding how far he fell, wanting to prove and having so much to prove. Jordan Morgan in here trying to prove everybody right, making him a first-round pick. And then you got undrafted guys that are just trying to make the team, and everything feels extremely pressurized to them. It's difficult to say one's more than the other, but it's all got to be unique for each one of these guys going through their own journey starting up here today, because they all put different types of pressure, I assume, on themselves going into this first camp.
Billy, I have so much fun watching players grow. And I don't just mean from year to year. I don't just mean from rookie to vet. I have so much fun watching these guys grow throughout the course of a preseason or even an off season. And they will feel the nerves every single time. At the start of every single game in the preseason, their rookie year will be the same. Okay, got one more shot. Got one more chance to go out there. I know these plays. I know how this is going to go down. They'll have those nerves. But, man, you watch the way that they respond to the nerves in the first couple weeks of practice. First the last week of practice, immensely different. I mean, rookies look tremendously different from the first week of practice to the last week of practice. We're talking about 6 weeks of practice here, and they can look phenomenally different. They can go from looking like a guy who may never play in the league to looking like a guy who could potentially start for your team in the next week or two. So that's how much different they can look in a matter of 6 weeks. And then you talk about the preseason games where first game, man, they got to get the pads down. He really looks like a rookie. He's really getting pushed around. To third game, all right, he's really starting to hold his own in this thing. Rasheed Walker was one of them that you watched how he looked his first couple preseason games to the way he finished his preseason. And you said, this is a guy that you would feel comfortable throwing out there in an NFL game. You would feel comfortable with him playing. You didn't know we were going to have to start him so soon.
Right.
We would feel comfortable playing him in a football game. And here, he's going to prove it. He's going to be the starting left tackle this year.
I can't wait to find out who is the guy that we're asking questions for 2.5 weeks late into camp of, hey, man, how are you going to try to find a way to get Carrington Valentine on the field? And then Matt LaFleur laughs and puts out, listen, it's going to work itself out, right? If we end up needing a guy like we ended up needing Carrington Valentine for the last 9, 10, 11 games of the season last year, we will, because you're going to need everybody that ends up making the list. I'm excited to see which one of these rookies that we haven't talked about as much ends up being the guy that steals the show. Because as much as I'd love to say that it's going to be Jacob Monk, John, I don't know a whole lot of people are going to be able to realize that this guard is stealing the show at right guard. My rookie out of Duke. I don't know that people are going to be able to see that right away. It might have to be a Javon Bullard. It might have to be Edgerrin Cooper, or somebody that we haven't talked about, like a King or Hopper, who ends up 3 weeks into it being the guy that seemingly every press conference Matt LaFleur is talking about and answering questions about because he's the Ray Nitschke Field MVP.
Now, it's funny because who do you need? Who needs to step up as a rookie? Who do they need to contribute? Every year you need most teams need a rookie or two in order to really take the next jump, right? There's a rookie or two coming in. I remember in New Orleans, we needed Marshawn Lattimore to be a guy. I mean, we needed him to not play like a rookie. We needed him to be a guy, and he got defensive
worked out pretty well.
And the defense completely changed. Yeah, it's going to be on the defensive side. I mean, the combination of Edgerrin Cooper and Javon Bullard, the combination of those two needs to work. That middle of the Packers defense, I'm talking about Mike linebacker, I'm talking about middle of the field safety, that needs to work this year for this Packers defense, especially with how they want to play with this new style, corners on the outside. They're going to need to be strong inside, strong in the middle. But, I mean, who could be the surprise rookie? You never know. There's a competition at right guard going on right now. Could one of the rookies step up there and play a big time role there?
Come on, Jacob.
Marshawn Lloyd. You don't know right now, but if something happens to Josh Jacobs, it's Lloyd and Dillon. I mean, something needs to happen there as well. And there's always a defensive rookie that stands out sometime during training camp. There's always a defensive rookie that pops. So as you talk about it, I think who needs to be, I think definitely the middle of that defense, some combination between Cooper and Bullard. But who will it be? Heck, it could be just about anybody.
It very well could be Michael Pratt. It very well could be everybody's favorite thing to talk about, which is generally the backup quarterback at practices, right? Sean Clifford last year was everyone's favorite conversation out of the preseason games, John.
In some people's conversation 6 weeks into the year.
Oh,
right?
yeah. 100%.
Oh, I don't know if Jordan Love's got it. I saw a lot from Clifford.
Post games got very interesting
what he
can do for that.
That was some of the craziest stuff I ever heard in my life. Throw Clifford in. Listen, I love Clifford too. I really like Clifford, the backup. Player, he's got moxie.
Awesome. Yeah.
Talking with Tom Clemens about him, he's just got one of those things where he goes out there and he does what needs to be done. A little Matt Flynn wearing green and gold when Matt was on the Packers, Seahawks and Saints and Raiders, not quite the same. But when Matt Flynn was in green and gold, he had a little bit of magic to him. Sean Clifford has the same thing. You don't want to see him starting, though, because you got a Jordan Love, because you got an Aaron Rodgers. You don't want to start these guys.
damn, but I like Michael Pratt. But if Tom Clements is signing off on Sean Clifford, that's gonna be tough because you know
Well,
how much respect we have on this radio program for Tom Clements.
Yes, but I got people signing off for Michael Pratt too. So I mean, they're happy with the quarterback competition for the backup QB spot.
414-799-1973, NicoletLaw.com, talking text line. Which of these Packers rookies do they need to be a factor right out of the gates? Who needs to be the Ray Nitschke Field MVP when we're there coming up on Monday, starting up for Packers practice? Your answers. And John brings up the two guys in the middle of the defense. Maybe one over the other is needed more early, and we'll get into that side of it coming up on the other side with your reaction as well. What Packers rookie do they need the most contributions to in year one? 414-799-1973. Kuhn, Billy, Nick Brusewitz, the Bruiser, back in action. Battled some virus yesterday. He is locked in, ready to go, and rocking a Packers shirt. So all those Steelers fans can quiet down on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. We're changing this young man. We're turning him around the right way. Take that, Heller. We finally did. You had 1 year for him. We had 1 week. It works a lot better here. 9 to noon on the Game. Welcome back. Green Bay Packers looking for some instant success from a couple of rookies. Who needs to have that instant impact the most out of the 2024 class? 414-799-1973 is the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. I'm Billy Schmid, John Kuhn right there, and Nick Brusewitz by our side as well. We're going to welcome our guy Chuck Garbedian into the conversation about 30 minutes from right now. Talk about the Open Championship. Hey, don't let him get hot. Don't let him get hot. Tiger 1 under through 3.
Uh-oh.
Don't let him get hot. I'm just throwing it out here. Dude, just if he makes the weekend, John, and can play all 4 rounds, I know this is as tired as sports lists can maybe go. It's list season. Don't worry. We have the 25 through number 1 coming up in hour number 3 that you've been patiently waiting for coming up. But just make the weekend, play all 4 rounds, and be somewhat near the final stretch of hour and a half playing golf on Sunday, and I will be dialed in if Tiger Woods is a part of that competition come up on Sunday.
So Colin Montgomery is now backtracking on some comments that he had made about Tiger Woods.
Good work, lad.
Earlier in the week when he said some to the effect, he said it was taken out of context, but the words used within whatever context it was Tiger Woods, when are we going to be stop following him through these tournaments?
Should retire already, I believe is the way it was phrased. Yeah.
Seeing if he makes the cut and finishing 54th to 74th, something to that nature. Because there's a hell of a lot of excitement still when Tiger makes the cut. That's why there's nobody in the game that you care more if they make the cut than Tiger Woods. I mean, yeah, we expect Scotty Scheffler to make the cut. And if he misses the cut, we're all going to be shocked and be like, damn, this tournament's not as much fun because Scotty Scheffler didn't make the cut because he, fumbled all over himself somehow, or Bryson DeChambeau, or any number of the players that are still at the very tippy tops of their game. But Tiger Woods is one of those guys that, man, we watch our stars become human as they age, and then to watch 2 really traumatic injuries that he went through to try and come back from, one being the knee in the US Open that he still won and played on, and then the other being the car accident where he completely destroyed his lower body, and then try and watch him come back from those 2 injuries is something special for the guy who in our lifetime might be that number 1 greatest athlete on that list by the time we hit it
just might be
later here this afternoon. And now that he is human, he is a risk every tournament that he plays in to finish, to make the cut. It's a challenge,
dude.
It's really the first marker within a tournament that we watch that has kind of a denomination. Tiger Woods, did he make the cut? Do you want him to make the cut? Are you happy to watch him make the cut? I for one still am. I want to see him grind, because that's what we are as humans. We are trying to, especially athletes, we are trying to see what our bodies are capable of. And this man's body might not be capable of winning a British Open or a US Open or another major, but is his body strong enough to finish, just finish them? That's what is interesting to us.
But 72 holes in 4 days, that's the grind that I still want to be able to see him finish. And I assume the way that I watch Tiger, and this is going to be one of the strangest things because he's one of the most alpha human beings that have ever walked the face of the earth. I assume, John, the way I watch him is almost like how I'm going to watch my young son play sports, right? Where I want to be proud, and I want to make sure that he gets out of there safely, right? I want to enjoy watching him, and then I want him to be able to come home and be safe. I've enjoyed so much of his career as a novice golf fan, and there's still a weird little sentimental tie-in because there's not a human being that my grandfather loved and respected more than Tiger Woods. And he was first introduced to him when he was 70 years old. And that was the guy that kind of taught me how to play golf. So there's a little bit weird sentimental part of it, but you just see the greatest to do it. Then, as you mentioned, some of which on his own volition absolutely had terrible things happen to his body and still have the grind for it. And then to be able to smirk at that lad, Colin Montgomery. I almost called him a twat. I don't know if that's allowed on FCC.
I don't know either, man.
Listen, once we get to Europe, maybe that's a bigger deal. Hey,
left to go.
Shut your mouth. You're not a former champion.
Too late now, kids.
Yeah, too late now. You're not a former champion. So shut your mouth and know your damn role, Colin Montgomery.
Wow.
And spell your name right next time.
Whoa.
With a Y. 414-799-1973. Speaking of a Green Bay Packer rookie that had a lot of impact, instant impact, John. That's what we're asking people on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. Instant impact. Hard to have more of an instant impact than a 108-yard kick return on your first game in the NFL and John Kuhn keeping you up and then propelling you in for the next 70-some yards. Randall Cobb is in the news this morning. Former NFL Pro Bowl wide receiver Randall Cobb played 13 seasons, including 10 with the Green Bay Packers, is joining the media and joining the SEC network as a college football studio analyst. Cobb will appear on select editions of SEC Now throughout the fall, all football season long.
Yes, there you go. Nice.
So it looks like we've got there's no official retirement, but I am going to get into the media. Maybe he goes RG3 style and just lets everybody know, hey, I can still run a 4.3. Hey, I can still run every route on the route tree.
Comes back if Aaron needs him in January.
Well, I mean, Robert Griffin III, John, likes to let everyone know I can still throw the ball 70 yards if anybody needs me to go.
Here's the deal. The SEC is going to be so damn intriguing this year with all the moves that they made. If you were ever going to jump into that realm and really try and launch a second career, this is an absolute no-brainer. Take advantage of the first year of the new SEC and the college football playoffs and how many teams they could potentially get into those college football playoffs. Could be a great year for everybody involved with the SEC.
Now, I like this one as we ask what rookie needs the most impact right away. Bob in Minneapolis goes different style here, John. And I want to get your reaction here. Defensive coordinator and the new trainer, the two most important rookies from Bob in Minneapolis. One of which I absolutely can agree with on the defensive coordinator.
The new trainer? You mean the strength coach?
The strength coach, I believe, is who he's meaning for. Or new equipment manager, because our guy Red Batty ends up hanging it up as well.
Oh, yeah.
But some of those guys aren't rookies. They've been in the building. They've been working in the NFL. They just haven't been at this spot, this particular juncture, this particular role yet. The defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, far from rookie, he's called defense before, but this one in the NFL, he has not yet.
Rookie in their role.
Mm-hmm.
Rookie in their role. And yeah, here's my thing. I hate to sound crass when I say this. Strength coaches have very little to do with your hamstrings, people. Very little.
Especially
that is on you.
Yeah.
That is your genetics, and that is your training, and that is your recovery, and that a lot of that is on the person. Strength coaches take a beating, man. They take a beating. They get celebrated when teams don't have injuries and when teams look strong, and then they get criticized when teams are oft injured,
get hurt in a contact sport,
have soft tissue injuries. It's not the strength coaches, people. It's not. I've loved every strength coach I had. Some of them had no business teaching me how to strength train. Some of them had all the business in the world teaching me how to strength train. Strength coaches don't matter when it comes to injuries. Very, very little. Their impact is about as much as the nutritionist on the team. I'm being dead serious. They make guidelines, they make suggestions, and then it's on the players. So strength coach, no. Defensive coordinator, Billy, I will give a huge push for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a very important rookie role for our team this year.
Well, and it's one of the reasons why when we're talking about, Edgerrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, who in that middle of the defense, do they need more instant impact from? I wonder if Hafley being new in the role, being new to the defensive coordinator role, also leans in a little bit more on somebody that he has at least a little bit of familiarity with in an Isaiah McDuffie, and they kind of slow play Edgerrin Cooper onto the field. Not saying that Javon Bullard is for sure ticketed, John, to be starting week 1 when we go down to Sao Paulo, Brazil and take on the Philadelphia Eagles. But I just wonder if that familiarity and a little bit of the hesitancy to throw in a rookie along with Quay Walker being the green dot, maybe he wants to push for somebody that knows a little bit of his defense stylistically, and Isaiah McDuffie to be the green dot guy on the field. I just wonder if that and 58, how he played well in times last year, keeps Edgerrin Cooper maybe just off the field a little bit right out of the gates.
Yeah, and these are the interesting storylines and plot lines that we'll have throughout training camp, right? Is Isaiah McDuffie, is his experience, not just being a Packer inside linebacker and a starting Packer inside linebacker, but is his experience in Jeff Hafley's system, will that help him potentially lead the way here at the start of the season? Or does Edgerrin Cooper, playing a position that can pop as a rookie, this middle linebacker is a position that you can pop. See ball, hit ball. That's what you
Yes,
have.
absolutely.
See ball, hit ball, run with a back or a tight end down the middle of the field. That's what you do as a Mike linebacker. And can he do that? Is he talented enough athletically? Absolutely so. So will he jump off and be able to do those things right away? I tend to think he's going to, based off of early returns here at Packers not rookie minicamp, at Packers offseason camps. I think he is. I would anticipate really big things out of Edgerrin Cooper this year. Still going to have some moments. I remember Patrick Willis as a rookie, not near the same Patrick Willis even as second year. So you will have moments, but man, Patrick Willis was so damn good his rookie year.
Amazing.
And I'm not saying Edgerrin Cooper is going to be that, but I'm saying Edgerrin Cooper is going to be, some sort of variety of that. I think he's going to be a linebacker that we're going to say, we haven't seen one of these around here in a minute.
We've still thrown that out there. We've still thrown that information out there. 33-1 defensive rookie of the year. If you're interested, Edgerrin Cooper could be a possibility. Still floating it out there. But now we get more Grey Cup things on the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We need more of our NFL futures back up. We need to get this Grey Cup information out of here because already in on the Montreal Alouettes. I can't bet on anybody else.
Yeah. Did they start their training camps already?
That's a great
CFL?
question.
I think they had to. I think their first week is really soon.
And CFL.ca training camps start for the CFL June 5th. No, that's takeaways from the preseason. Holy cow, they're playing games. John, they're in week 7.
I thought they were already.
John, they're in week 7.
Okay,
week 7 coming up here tomorrow night. Edmonton takes on Ontario. Throw the records out when those
For
two
the
get
record,
together.
Canada's only 2 hours north of here, dude. Should we be paying attention to this?
I'm wondering, right? Like I'm thinking about it. Actually, it might be good for a Coons can't miss. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. Oh, Saskatchewan 4-1. They got to be like a 7 or 8 point favorite.
This might be really bad. Are there any U.S. teams in the CFL?
No.
Okay.
No, that's a good question though. That's a good one. There was potentially at one particular point in time. I'm not positive.
Maybe at some point.
There was one.
Aren't you surprised Seattle doesn't have one?
Yeah,
that'd be the one. Are you not surprised like Fargo doesn't have one?
That would be a good idea.
Why doesn't? I mean, Minneapolis could easily handle a CFL team.
A couple of spots in Michigan, right? I mean, Marquette, Michigan. Let's throw one in Escanaba. And you
don't have to throw them in the small cities either. I mean,
but I like Escanaba. I want to. Then I have another reason to go up there, John, and play.
And then, Happy Place Hemp. Yeah, I got you.
Come on now. 414-799-1973. He's a smart man. He's our two-time Super Bowl champion. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Nick Bruzowitz is here as well. It's 9 to noon on the game. Chuck Garbedian joins the conversation in 20 minutes. On the other side, the conversation in college football keeps getting louder from a couple of older coaches. One out of the game. One, well, maybe expiring from the game. Has some questions about the 12-team playoff. It's all been good in the neighborhood, right? Couple of questions being brought up. Unintended consequences. We'll discuss them, lay them out for you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line next. 414-799-1973. It's 9 to noon on the game. All right, Justin in Jacksonville has part of our answer. Baltimore was in the CFL before they got an NFL team. John Kuhn, the Canadian Football League in 1993 admitted its first U.S.-based team, the Sacramento Gold Miners. After modest success, the league then expanded further into the United States in 1994 with the Las Vegas Posse, the Baltimore Stallions, and the Shreveport Pirates.
Shreveport,
Louisiana. Shreveport Pirates in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Is there a T in that?
No T.
Okay,
No
there
T.
we go.
Yep.
Shreveport.
Pirates in Shreveport,
Are they just
Louisiana.
stealing names? Hey, Stallion. Okay, Baltimore has Colts. Let's just go with Stallions. Okay,
sounds good.
The 49ers are from San Francisco. Let's just call them the Miners. Let's call them the Miners. They're just stealing mascots. That is amazing. They are that is the TJ Maxx version of the NFL. Let's take everything that's possible and just rename it slightly, rebrand it slightly.
This Shreveport Pirates logo looks like what you would expect an NFL version of like the Toronto Raptors old big dinosaur uniforms would possibly look like. The list here on or the write up here just says the Shreveport Pirates were the least successful of CFL's American franchises on and off the field, as they only lasted 2 seasons despite a relatively strong fan base. Shockingly, people in the South like football. They love football. You put a team there and put them from Louisiana, they'll be interested now. They'll be there. But if you lose games, then they're not going to be all that
Tulane the last couple years, we talk about Michael Pratt. Tulane the last couple years with the success they had, man,
place rocks.
Uptown was rocking, absolutely going nuts with Tulane, with the Green Wave getting hot the last couple of years. Yeah, they love football down there.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be able to see our guy Michael Pratt from Tulane. I'm excited to see some of these young players. I'm also, as always, excited, as you know, to see some offensive linemen. That's where Kurt and Grafton on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line, John, when we're asking who do you think needs to be the most impactful rookies right out of the gates for the Packers, says, I want them to hit on the 2 linemen. Build some depth on this line. It could be special. Josh Jacobs could have another monster season. And yes, I'm drafting all day in my fantasy drafts on Underdog for sure, trying to get him in my 5 fantasy leagues, baby. Jacobs season this year. All right, Curtin Grafton believes that it could be Jacob Monk, could be our guy Jordan Morgan, who, by the way, they keep telling us is going to play tackle. They then very, very conveniently, John, on the Packers website on their roster, have now put tackle/guard as a position for Jordan Morgan, who you got to think is going to get himself at least a chance to compete with Ryan and Monk for that right guard spot as much as possible.
Yeah, and Sean Ryan. Right,
Ryan as well. Yep.
The 2 of them could go out there and battle it out, or it could be Jordan Morgan. And this is the thing that the Packers are always able to do. They go to college and draft tackles. Everybody who played on the Packers, I'm talking TJ Lang, Josh Sitton, Chad Clifton, Mark Tauscher, Brian Bulaga. Evan Dietrich Smith, who was a center, every single one of them played tackle in college. That doesn't mean that's where you're going to play in the NFL. Sometimes it's your arm length that gets you positioned. Sometimes it's your kick slide that gets you positioned. Sometimes it's your, how do I say this? It's your body mass index. If you're
good one,
if you're
yes.
short, if you're more of a
good way of putting it.
Fire hydrant looking guy, hey, we're going to slide you into the middle, big fella. Don't worry about a thing. You got protection on both sides. So that's how it works. And they're not afraid to do that. They're not afraid to mix it up. And at some point in time, linemen are linemen, and it's about putting the best 5 out there. So yes, they have technically one whole lish up for grabs. Sean Ryan played a lot at right guard last year. He's gonna get the first crack this year at being able to be the starter. How quickly can either one or both of these rookies, impose a threat on him at that position? And then Rasheed Walker, man, I'm telling you, the more I see out of him at the end of the season, I'm talking about against Micah Parsons and Lawrence and the Dallas
Montez
Cowboys.
Sweat there with the Bears.
And then the Sweat game, and then even the Nick Bosa game. Good Lord, like he played well against some really quality opponents down the stretch. and a lot of it on his own, and not a
Mhm.
whole lot,
Yep.
heck of a lot of help, and he played really well. So there might only be one spot open here on the Packers offensive line.
Yeah, Brian Baldinger always breaks down offensive line guys, gives highlight little breakdowns on Twitter. Kids are calling it X these days. Maybe if I start calling it X more, Elon will let us stream there. But you see guys that watch the league and start taking notice of Rasheed Walker. He definitely might have closed the door on that left tackle role, which if indeed he does lock that down as a 7th round pick, insane value the Packers might have been able to just grab there with that guy coming out of Penn State. All right, a couple more texts here before we get to Chuck Garbini at the top of the hour. Brian in West Dallas. Hey, boys. Black belt in Taekwondo here.
Oh, congrats. There you go.
Okay. All right, Brian in West Dallas. Drop it on the table. Let him see it. Hamstring injury comes from tight muscles. Do you know how many hamstring injuries there are in...
I'm going to guess dojo.
Dojang.
Dojang? Yeah. What's a Dojang? I'm not even gonna
Close
Let
enough
me
to a,
look it up. Let me look
dojo.
at- This is my job. This is not Nick's job at all. Let me look at Dojang.
He says-
meaning.
You know,
Dojang is a term used in Korean mixed martial arts such as Taekwondo,
Okay.
Tang Soo Do,
Dojang.
Kuksulwan, and Hapkido.
Keto, that's a diet, isn't it? Oh, half keto.
Hop keto.
Okay.
Hop
Hop
keto.
keto.
Hop keto. Okay, so only half
A lot
keto.
of kicking.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so do you know how many hamstring injuries there are in Dojang? None.
Never
Now I
has been. There's never, ever been a hamstring injury in Dojang.
There's no injuries, no hamstring injuries in Dojang, 0 hamstring injuries, no dang injuries in Dojang. All of those kicks and not one hamstring injury because we stretch. We stretch. All of these players are lazy and not doing the little things needed to stay healthy. It only takes 20 minutes a day. I'm talking to you, Christian Watson. So Brian West Dallas, it seems like a little bit of an offering here to Christian Watson. Join Dojang, get
Go
yourself
get
to
that
a,
black belt.
go get a black belt.
Drop that hammer on the table, and
then no
you
more
never get
issues.
hurt again. Because you can't possibly have a hamstring injury in Dojang.
No.
You can't, it's never been done. There are none, 0 hamstring injuries in Dojang. So if you do Dojang and you play wide receiver, you are hamstring injury free.
Steal.
Yeah. Why doesn't every wide receiver do Dojang?
Think about the amount of money Christian Watson could have saved himself when he told us that he was spending tens of thousands of dollars of his own money to try to figure out what was going on with his hamstrings. Dojang class, I can't think is that much.
Dojang doesn't even care if one hamstring's bigger than the other, if one hamstring fires faster than the other.
Doesn't matter.
Dojang, you can't hurt the hamstring. It's hamstring risk free.
I think you're using the word wrong, John. Taekwondo is what they're doing. Dojang is the location in which you do it. It's like the
Yeah,
building.
right, Dojang. You walk into that building, you do your Taekwondo in that building, you're not getting hurt. So you walk in
Just
there.
go to Dojang.
Just go to
Just go to
Dojang.
Dojang.
Damn. And I was thinking Bojangles was the only thing that was going to save him. No, instead we got Dojang is going to be able to save Christian Watson's hamstrings. The stretching thing, absolutely. John, the 20-minute warm-up, part of stretching. It's part of the stretching that they're breaking themselves into here. Could you let us in on some of the stretching exercises that I can only imagine happen for the entire team and or a couple of the cats that probably put their practice
Yes,
pants on 4 hours before practice
No,
to get ready?
I will say this. There is not enough stretching in the NFL. I will agree with Brian and West Dallas on that. There is not. Because a lot of stretching doesn't have – guess what? You have now regulated practices. They can't go over 2.5 or 245, one of the other. Do you think coaches are going to spend 20 of their 245 on stretching? No,
No.
they're going to tell you, get your stretching in. If you're not available, you won't make your contract. So the stretching is on you. So Brian and West Dallas is on to something there. There's not enough
Just wanna do
stretching
a
in the
live show at
NFL.
Dojang.
There really is not. And you got to be, yeah, I want to do a live show from a
That's what I'm
Dojang.
talking about, dude. That place is electric.
But to say if you do Taekwondo, you don't get when's the last time somebody doing Taekwondo has gone out and ran 50 40-yard sprints at 22 miles an hour?
I don't
Just
think the mat's
tell me
big
that.
enough.
Just tell me that.
Yeah.
And then we'll agree to agree.
I'm excited though. I want to go. I'm ready to train with Brian and West Dallas
I
on
just
my
want to say
Dojang.
Dojang.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I'm not doing Taekwondo at any place but Dojang at that point. That's way too much fun. 414-799-1973.
Nick doesn't take the time to look up Dojang, and he's telling me I'm using Dojang.
Yeah, come on. Hey, Let's be better. Let's go. Hour number 2. We're gonna shape up, and we're gonna be even better here because we're gonna start talking to Chuck Garbedian. We're gonna get real professional. We're gonna get really into the golf that's happening right now. And is Tiger Woods going to win another major? That's question number 1 for Chuck Garbedian. When he finishes that answer, probably in about 3 to 4 seconds, we will ask him everything else about the Open Championship. And John, a guy that is leading that I thought stunk. I thought Justin Thomas was bad at golf. Apparently he's good again.
Why didn't I pick him yesterday? You talked me out of picking Justin Thomas, and I picked Tommy Fleetwood, and he soiled his pants.
Just massacred. It's unbelievable. How on earth does that happen? Flo, bro, Tommy Fleetwood, you had to perform better for me. We'll find one that actually wins, and a Coons can't miss at 11. Chuck Garbedian on the other side. It's 9 to noon. Hour 2's next on the game. 9 to noon, hour 2 on the game. Be joined by Chuck Garbedian, talk some Open Championship here momentarily. But John, I have the attention span of a squirrel. So like as the microphone goes on and the music fires up, I see something and it just like instantly triggers a reaction. Well, I got First Take on, and they're doing some live hits from ESPN Media Days or SEC Media Days, I should say. And there was a pear-shaped individual who was. You see the thing that's spinning behind them. There's like an SEC logo that is just it's a hologram. It's a hologram that's going in between all the different logos, and then it goes back to the SEC and it spins around. My man had a video camera recording it for, I kid you not, at least 7 minutes. And he turned around with the biggest smile on his face, like he had just accomplished one of the greatest feats around.
You gotta get B-roll, baby.
You gotta get B-roll.
And you know what? Maybe he was doing okay. I see what you're talking about now. Yes. I'm envisioning he's going to do B-roll, that he's going to time lapse that thing and speed it up so it goes through each one of the 14 teams. Or do they got 16 now in the SEC? How many's in the damn SEC?
They got 18.
They got 18 now.
I thought they had 18.
Yeah, now that they added in Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah, it is.
I think it's 18.
It's a full load right there.
It is a massive conference. 16 teams.
16. Yep. Oh my goodness. But I see now yours is better though. You found it for like a real process. He is still going to be able to work with it. I just saw it and I'm like, man, my boy went to happyplacehemp.com, used promo code Billy and got himself some Delta 8 gummies before
I
he
told
went to
you
work.
I'm naive though. I like to see the best in people and assume they're all just doing normal stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
Half the time in this world, people aren't doing normal stuff and I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. But Chuck Garbedian, he's always doing the right stuff.
Exactly. And the smile on that young man's face at SEC Media Days reminded me of the smile that I assume Chuck Garbedian wakes up with on the morning of round 1 of a major championship in the great game of golf. And he joins us now on the NicolaLaw.com talking text line. Chuck, just a big smile on your face. You wake up to breakfast in bed. How do you wake up? Or do you even go to bed when round 1 tees off at like 1 a.m. here for the Open Championship? Thanks for hanging out with us.
Well, thank you, boys. Every day is a good day because we play golf every day. So this is Thursday, so this would have been in the 4th round of the week so far. So this is pretty good because then you get up and watch a little Open, take a little nap, get a little dressed up, and then you go hit the links again, and then you come back in and there's more golf still going on because they have about 12 more golfers that have yet to get a ball in the air yet for this first round of the Open Championship at Royal Troon.
So they started tee times at 12:30 at night, 12:30, just after midnight, 12:30 a.m. here, our time. They started tee times. But, Chuck, that's because they can golf so late into the day. Have you ever done a summer golf trip in Scotland? It's pretty awesome.
No, I haven't had the opportunity because I'm usually stateside doing too many things. And I think we're doing it this fall. We're going out and doing some things out across the pond. So we're looking forward to that. We had a trip that we had planned, but then it got canceled because of COVID. And so that kind of whacked things out.
I can't believe we're still saying those things. We're still saying everything that COVID ruined for us. Okay. Anyways, Chuck.
It's just the fact that that's what it was at the time, and we couldn't go. They were like,
"Oh, I know.
We can't house you. We can't play. Can't do anything." So we just stayed here and played. So it was fine.
So let me tell you, Chuck, I have done the summer golf swing through Scotland, and it is one of those situations where the sun comes up in Scotland at 3 a.m. and the sun goes down in Scotland at midnight. Jeez, in the summertime, the sun goes down at midnight, comes up at 3 a.m. Look, can I tell you, guys, golf trips in Scotland, they don't turn out the greatest because when the sun's up, for a golf trip, you are out swinging.
Yeah.
And when that sun goes down, you're like, okay, it's only like 9 o'clock. Your body tells you it's 9 o'clock. So you're going to sit back and have a couple cocktails and kick it with the guys and maybe play some cards or play some dice. And the next thing you know, you only played cards for about 3 hours and the sun's already coming back up. And you're like, should I just go back out and take some more swings? Because we got a morning tea time coming up here.
Yes, you should take some more swings. You should take as many swings as you possibly can. Don't ever put the clubs away. If there is sunlight, if there is daylight, you are teeing it up.
So is Scotland for you guys? Is this one is it more regarded in the UK as the better area to be playing golf? Because as you mentioned, John, yesterday, this will cycle through the UK to England to Ireland up to Scotland, and it feels like this one is what people really enjoy is the Scotland trip of this.
Well, the Scotland trip is, Troon is one of those that's a must play aside from the old course. It's just got to be one of those that you go visit. It's 146 years old. It's been around forever. It's an experience, as John can attest because he's been there. It's something that you don't necessarily see in the United States. They try to make it look like it. Like people talk about Whistling being a links course. It really isn't. It's a parkland course without trees. It's not designed really to be played on the ground. If you go to a place like Broadlands Golf Club in North Prairie, Broadlands was designed by a guy named Rick Jacobson. His idea was if you got out of position and you can't fly a ball onto the green in the air, is there are run-ups and ways to bump it into the green by keeping it on the ground? So you can play it any way you want to play it. That's more what a link-style course is. But this is, one of the homes of golf in terms of how long it's been around and the fact that they've been playing this championship on an open rota. And this is one of the courses that you want to go see it in because the weather conditions will change. I mean, if you look at the TV today, no matter where you are, if you look at the TV today and look at it and you go, that's July in Scotland. Yeah, it's just a postcard. I can't wait to get there because it looks so great. It's just one of those summers where that's what it looks like and this is what it is. And the people there embrace it for what it is.
Yeah, and it's for the history of golf, for those purists, it is as pure as it gets. All right, Justin Thomas is actually leading right now, believe it or not, Chuck. He's -3. Tell us about Justin Thomas right now. Should we start getting excited? Should we believe in this, or was this just, he found a spark for a day?
If you watched the Scottish Open last week, the first round, he found a spark for a day, found a bigger spark, and then it turned into a brush fire, and that worked out really well because after that, he disappeared. It'll be interesting to see what happens here with Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas, for lack of a better term, he's not one of the greatest putters in the world. So consequently, the cool thing about playing in a British Open is the green speeds will never get up to 12 or 14. So you don't have to worry about being too precise with a putter. You can be, quote unquote, by PGA Tour standards, a bad putter and still putt pretty well out there because there's no expectations. I mean, the greens are extremely slow by tour standards, not by daily standards, but by tour standards, they're really slow. So it's kind of an equalizer for everybody out there. If you're a great putter, you get frustrated by greens like these because they're not pure necessarily in terms of how they run out and how they roll from green to green, but they are fairly smooth for what they are in terms of being, more than a century old. At the same time, if you're a bad putter, you don't care. You're a bad putter all the time. You putt them, no matter how good the greens are, you putt the same way. So this actually is an equalizer for everybody. That's why you get winners like Todd Hamilton and Ben Curtis, because it's like these types of courses don't reward great play necessarily. You need a couple of breaks during the course of the week. You may need a couple of breaks during the course of a round. Today was one of those days where, you saw Justin get out there early, had a lead, and then gave it back, and then got it back on 17 and 18 with birdies. So there's opportunities out there. It's just a question of taking advantage of them. On the greens, that's the hardest part, especially, again, if you're a good putter, because you're just not used to hitting it really good and getting nothing out of it.
All right, Chuck, talk about that a little bit for some of the novice fans out there, what it really is like to try and golf in England, Ireland, Scotland. It's a whole different ballgame. You talk about the greens in the U.S. Pebble Beach, for example, small greens, really fast greens, but small greens, deep rough. Over there, not really deep rough, sand traps, bunkers that you can't see, little tiny babies that'll just, it's basically like a hazard, a lost ball, and then these massive greens that people can't understand the size. Some greens in Europe are as big as a football field. Just try and explain how different the golf is there versus in the U.S.
Well, it's best described by Tom Watson, who's a 5-time winner of the British Open. He just said he hated it when he came over. If you're an American, you play everything in the air. You fly everything. That's the design aspect of every golf course pretty much made in America. Is it gets in the air and it flies, and that's what you're supposed to do. You get over there, you don't want to necessarily fly it because when it lands, it may take some sort of quirky bounce and end up where you don't have an absolute level lie. If you're in America, everything's pretty much flat. There's a little elevation up, a little elevation down, maybe a little side to side. You get over there, it's upside down. I mean, it's your pineapple upside down cake. It's delicious, but you got to learn how to eat it because if you don't, it's just going to take your lunch each and every day. It's a whole different environment. There, you want to play the ball more flighted, more down. In the United States, you play the ball all the time up in the air. So it's just two distinctly different things. It's black and white. It's Oreos and chocolate chips. They're just completely different cookies, but they're delicious, but they're different. And you got to get used to one and the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna have both. I'm in that standpoint. Yeah. And Chuck,
you can have another butter if you want, but just be prepared for the result.
Well, and that's what I'm prepared for. That's why I buy the Costco Kirkland brand just bucket of balls, because I know that I'm going to lose a large portion of those once I get out onto the course. Chuck, I joked about it when I saw the birdie on 3. I said, don't let him get hot. Now a bogey and then a double bogey by Tiger, and he's +2. Not hot. However, I made this distinction, and it was really unfair because he's one of the most alpha guys of all time. I almost watch him as I assume a parent watches their child play sports. I just want him to be healthy and finish, right? I want him to win because I'm a Tiger fan and always will be, but I know that's probably not going to be the case. Could this be the one that I actually get 72 holes out of, though, and he's not limping through the back and you feel almost guilty watching him on Sunday?
No, he's done. It's a shame to say because I love Tiger and I love watching him play, but I have been fortunate enough to be inside the ropes, and I've seen him at his best inside the ropes. And there's nothing like it. The theater that Tiger is when he's playing well, when he's on, is like nothing you've ever seen. It's magical. It's everything that you ever wanted to see and more. And the difference is now his body is physically compromised by the car accident. It'll never be the same. And the thing that I always point to is when he's eligible to play on the Champions Tour, I think one of the first things he does is he commits to playing in the AmFam Championship for Steve, and plays out at TPC Wisconsin. Makes his farewell tour and gets to play some of the majors on the Champions Tour because they're always in a cart. And I just don't think physically he can walk it anymore. And it's even more compromised when you get weather like this, when it's cold and it's damp and you've got a metal rod in your leg holding it together and you're trying to compete at the highest level. This isn't like your member guest at your club. This is the Open Championship, which he has won. I mean, he's got the career Grand Slam a couple of times. To play at that level and then try to soldier through this is admirable. I kind of get an idea what Montgomery was saying when he was saying, well, he should retire and he shouldn't be out there.
He should shut up.
Again, that's not Montgomery's call to make, and it sounds extremely petty coming from a guy who hasn't won an Open Championship. You let Tiger do whatever he wants to do, how he wants to do it to the end. It's just hard to watch sometimes because you always remember what he was and what he did, and now where he is and what he's doing, and it's two different things.
Tiger Woods was an American that's won a couple of the Open Championships. We got Brian Harmon's won an Open Championship. Colin Morikawa's won an Open Championship. Jordan Spieth, Zach Johnson. As far as that goes, who are some Americans that you think could break through and get that on their list? You talk about playing it down. Can Bryson DeChambeau play it down enough? What about Brooks Koepka? What about Dustin Johnson? What about guys like that?
Well, Dustin Johnson's a high ball hitter, so I don't necessarily see that. A lot of things that have to go right for him to be an Open Championship. Brooks Koepka could do it because he has that kind of mentality. Bryson DeChambeau, it's interesting to see just because of the scientist he is and the technology that he uses in terms of his club selection. It's hard to say. Weather is so dependent upon this because it affects how the turf reacts with golf clubs and golf balls. So it'll be fascinating to see how that happens. Justin Thomas is a solid pick if he can put together a couple more 300 rounds through the rest of this championship, depending on what the weather does. That may be enough. I don't think the winning score is going to get to 9 or 10. I think it's going to be really hard to do that because I think once the wind starts blowing, this golf course becomes incredibly difficult, and it becomes more so if you add in moisture to that. So I think if you get a guy who gets to 9 or 10, maybe 10, I don't even know if you can get the double figures. And there might be somebody who pops up for a few holes and puts together a run, but then, you turn back into the wind, you turn back into the weather, and the scores go back in the other direction. I don't know that you can see anybody. I think if you get a couple guys out there who can put together rounds that are, say, maybe 2-3 under par, those are exceptional rounds. Those might be the best rounds they ever play in championship golf, and you really don't know how difficult it is unless you're out there with them walking between the ropes.
What happened to Jon Rahm?
He had a foot injury. They talked about it at length in his press conference. It was fairly disgusting to hear. And consequently, he just has kind of evaporated. One of the things that's the tenet about the game of golf is you need competition and you need reps. When Tiger was injured, you always heard about he needed to get more reps, more tournament reps. It was one thing to play at his club, the Medalist down in Florida. It's a whole nother thing just to play, with your buddies, than play inside the ropes and play tournament golf. Tournament golf is like nothing else. Tournament golf is a completely different animal. And so consequently, Jon Rahm hasn't had to be battle tested because he's playing on LIV, and there's really not that much competition on LIV. And the sad thing is it's kind of a snowballing effect. You're playing on LIV and there's not a lot of competition, and you're not beating a lot of competition. You start doubt starts to creep in a little bit. It's like, oh, how good am I? Then you start hitting shots so that you get distracted. it's the same intensity level isn't there on Live as it is on the PGA Tour, where you're playing for your livelihood. It's a big difference. It's a big deal, and so consequently, I don't think he's had enough reps against valued competition rather than just a bunch of guys playing in an outing.
See, and that's interesting, John, because now we've seen Bryson DeChambeau become like the people's champ on Live, where Rahm was like the last one to join, and he's going through an adjustment period. Like it is clear that decision might not be exactly what he was thinking it was.
He also has staph on his foot, and anybody that's ever had staph knows how scary that whole situation can be. So, I mean, he's wigged out. He's probably walking around one shoe on, one barefoot, nothing but cotton swabs all over the damn thing. I mean, you get staph on your foot. That's a scary spot.
Yeah, that was overly disgusting to listen to, Chuck. I appreciate you doing it so no one else had to, because you know what?
Yes,
that's what you do for the people.
Yep, that's what I'm there for.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
When did they stop calling it the British Open and they call it the Open Championship?
About 6-8 years ago, they were trying to rebrand it as something other than just being the British Open. They wanted to call it the Open Championship because they're the oldest championship in professional golf.
I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm fine. If that's what you want to do. I still call it the British Open every once in a while. If you do it with some of the purists, they go crazy. They go absolutely nuts. It's kind of fun to watch. Sometimes I do it just because I know it's going to drive them nuts.
Well, I still say Oakland Raiders.
It's my kind of guy right there. I'll be honest with you guys. Last year I was watching it and all of a sudden I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, okay, so this is what the British Open was. And then it flares up. I thought it was just because it's swaggier to say and it makes it sound fancier when you're drinking tea. The Open Championship.
Well,
could also your scones and your tea and your pinkies out, and they always go the champion golfer of the year. Yeah, that's why they do it. So.
Well, plus they can sell more merchandise because everybody has merch from Troon. They probably have merch from Troon the last time they had a British Open, and now that it says the Open, oh man, it's not called the British anymore. Genius. Everybody knows how old my shirt is. Now I got to get a new one.
That's genius.
I have my Open Championship shirt on today, as a matter of fact, from the 152nd Open at Royal Troon.
Jeez Louise, 152nd. It's like this game of golf has been being played for a while. It's like they've been playing this game for quite some time. Chuck, we appreciate it as always, my friend. We gotta get out to Broadlands here before the season ends.
Anytime, my friend. All the best. Let's speed up.
Let's do it. That's Chuck Garbedian. Garbedian on Golf, award-winning radio program right here on 97.3 The Game, 1070 The Game in Madison. You find it as well on your iHeartRadio app on Saturday mornings. Got to make sure that you're enjoying and soaking up every single bit of it, because once this football season goes, golf season ends up kind of going away, even though people are still playing golf come football season. But people stop paying attention to a lot of things come football season. The families there are number one generally. The WNBA might be right there at the top of that list as well. They have a little conversation about that coming up, as one league that thinks they're up and to the right on the growth chart. Can they survive a month off without their greatest superstar? Having herself a superstar kind of night last night. We'll discuss that as well. As Dabo Swinney, a couple of unintended consequences, not of NIL, of the expanded college football playoff from the Clemson head coach, and a little take on it from Nick Saban, who's still the star of SEC Media Days. We run through the unintended consequences in college football that maybe the fans aren't thinking of. We'll discuss it coming up next, 9 to noon on The Game.
Garbedian, in fact, he's the one who told me this latest one. What do you call a cow that grows facial hair? Well, you call it a mustache. That's what you call it. And, Chuck's jokes are good, but how about this one from Pella Windows and Doors? What do you need in order to cook in a sunny kitchen? You need shade and bake. And you know what? I cannot help myself today because the mind is all over windows and doors, thanks to this incredible deal going on at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Listen up now. You pay as low as $18 per window and $81 per patio door per month. That's it. But you got to jump on that deal right now. The offer ends at the end of the month. Pella comes out to your house. They complete installation in as little as a day with no mess, no hassle, and they leave nothing behind but their perfect results. Again, listen to this deal. $18 per window, $81 per patio at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. But that offer ends July 31st. So head into Pella right now. And don't forget to tell Gina Della that John Kuhn sent you. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Visit PellaWI.com today.
9 to noon, hour 2, hanging out with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. Congratulations to Wisconsin guy Tim Crumry, former Wisconsin Badger, the pride of Menominee, Wisconsin, and now going to be a member of the Ring of Honor of the Cincinnati Bengals, a 12-year NFL player, 15-year NFL coach, and a Wisconsin guy getting himself that honor. We love that. We love being able to throw some big ups there, just like we did yesterday, and somebody let us know. Quinn Miners, again, yes. Congrats, kid. We love when kids from Wisconsin are getting a big bag, and that is a big bag for a big belly. That ends up breaking the bank yesterday for the Denver Broncos. There's always some congratulations to be doled out in that order. And listen, I'm always excited when people from the state of Wisconsin end up having some W's. I also am excited when anybody in Wisconsin is being celebrated, and that's what apparently we're getting here from Governor Tony Evers, naming this Culver's Day. Tony Evers today, John Kuhn, July 18th, 2024, in honor of Craig, Lee, George, and Ruth Culver, who opened up their very first Culver's store in Sauk City in 1984. Culver's celebrating 40 successful years in business today. Congratulations. And now I'm going to go get some custard here tonight. That sounds like a post-practice meal in honor of Culver's here today on Culver's Day. I thought we were being trolled. I thought every day was custard day. I thought every day was Culver's Day. Instead, today ends up being Culver's Day. Thanks, Tony Evers. We like that deal.
Every day could be Culver's Day.
Could be.
Every day is not. It's today. So, yeah, it sounds like we're going to have to celebrate, Billy.
It's going to be, that is a difficult one, though, for the bowels. If indeed you end up making everyday Culver's Day, you might end up like Nick Brusewitz was yesterday, where you're struggling to be able to battle through. And that's
a good point. That's a good
point. Why you got to be honest with yourself as to if indeed you can make everyday Culver's Day. Make July 18th that and go and celebrate coming up here
I could
today.
do Supersize Me, like the McDonald's
that old
documentary.
movie? Yeah.
I could go to Culver's every day and see how that works out.
It would be an interesting decision. It would be it'd be a tasty decision. That's for sure. And, or you could do the Supersize Me style of Quick Trip, and then you'd actually be eating good stuff every single day at a reasonable price. That seems like a winner to me.
Well, my question for John is, like, do you remember your first Culver's trip or your first Culver's location you visited? Mine was right in Ripon, Wisconsin. Didn't have to go far.
Fair, born and
John
raised. Yeah.
Comes to Wisconsin, plays for the Packers. I have to imagine that was your first time going to a Culver's at that point.
Mark Tauscher used to always talk about this Culver's place we had to go to. He grew
Hyping
up in
it up.
Wisconsin. He grew up a Wisconsin lad, so he was all about the Culver's. He was born and raised on
I
the
love
Culver's.
him. I love him pushing it, though.
And he was pushing it. I'm fine. I mean, we're at the casino, man. We should stop by Culver's and pick something up.
It's a great afternoon.
I don't know what you're talking about. Go. We're going to the casino. Okay. Then maybe we're heading to a bar for some drinks. Maybe we should stop at some Culver's and get something. What are you talking about? This Culver's.
Genius.
Finally, one day I gave in and we go to Culver's, and I thought it was like a fast food place. So I'm pulling up and I'm thinking we're just maybe going to get some burgers, chicken sandwich. This guy is ordering cement mixers. He's ordering fish fillets. I mean, the order was so big, I couldn't believe it. And then we sat there and waited. And then I ate the food, and I thought, different than this is not quite. Is it fast food? Is it? I don't know. It's not particularly fast, and it's not particularly frozen. It's fresher, and so I don't put it in the category of fresh food, but it's not. It's also not. That other cheeseburger joint I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. What's it called?
Sitting cops.
Where you sit down and you wait. What is that one called?
Like every other one, like
Red
Five
Robin.
Guys, Red Robin.
Red Robin.
Yeah,
Like
Red
Red
Robin.
Robin.
Yes, Red Robin.
Okay.
Yep.
Because so it's not quite like Red Robin, but it's definitely not McDonald's. So it's a hybrid.
Yeah, it's a hybrid, and the best part of it is it's got a drive-through. Like that is what ends up putting it above it. I do love.
Do you ever go through the drive-through and then sit in your car and eat the food? That's one of my
100%.
I love that.
100% love doing that.
You could easily go
Especially when
into
it's
the
hot.
restaurant. Could easily go into the restaurant and eat. But no, I'm gonna order in the drive-through and then I'm gonna eat in my car.
Yeah, and I'm gonna eat my car, and John, I'm gonna probably put some on YouTube, and I'm gonna park it right back in there, and I'm gonna be able to get the speakers in my car, because then I don't have to be the weird guy that ends up putting headphones in, sitting at Culver's alone, and then people are wondering, we have to go any kind of watch list for this cat over here. I remember my first Culver's experience was I was just floored by the fact that the bag also came with ice cream. And I remember walking the entire kids' meal bag up to the cashier, even though my mom and dad told me you don't need to give them the whole bag. You just need to give them the little Scoopy coupon on the back end. I was so excited I brought the whole thing up there. And then that one scoop of chocolate in a dish was an absolute game changer. So congratulations, Culvers. We love your game. We're very, very proud of you being able to celebrate yourself. 40 years in business here in the state of Wisconsin. We love that. We also love the fact that college football, professional football are right around the corner. We love the fact that we're going to be able to listen to Nick Saban give takes on games, seasons, teams left and right. He had himself a take on what Dabo Swinney said yesterday at ACC Media Days, as he has been trying to find a new way of discussing the expansions of college football. Dabo Swinney, not a big fan of NIL. Not a big fan of transfer portal. Was not a big fan of going from 4 teams to 12 teams. Now that we're at 12 teams, he has his take on the 12-team playoff. We're going to take a quick...
I think we got to take a break here so we can give it its full
Damn,
amount
Molly.
of time.
Oh,
here.
damn. Okay, Molly. All
I
right,
want,
Molly.
I
Okay.
want to be able to dive
Okay.
deep into this topic. It's going to be a minute-long clip from Dabo. I imagine a long, deep discussion thereafter. So we hit a break here. We
Listen
carry
to
it
this
to the
guy.
end of the hour.
Okay.
This guy, he's growing up on the air. He just
Okay.
dropped him on us and said,
go.
"Hey, I'm the captain here."
I am the captain now. Let me do my job. Nick Bruzewitz, we're going to let him do his job. All right, we're going to come back. Let's go. All right, we're going to come back on the other side, and we're going to hear Dabo Swinney's discussions on the 12-team playoff coming up momentarily. He's Nick Bruzewitz, John Coons right there. I'm Billy Schmidt. It's 9 to noon on the Game. Well, the Open Championship may be going on in Scotland Royal Toon Golf Course, Detroit Golf Club in Detroit, Michigan. That's where O-Line Masterminds is going on right now. Tell me which one you'd rather be at. Rather be at a large collection, John Kuhn, of 300+ pound individuals talking about how to hit different combo blocks, how to be able to throw some false hands to some of these elite pass rushers, to be able to hold them back on a 3-step, 5-step drop, or hanging out with Matt Schneidman, walking around watching Tiger Woods play golf. It's a difficult answer for some people to make. Me, I'll go to Michigan.
Matt Schneidman kind of bumps it over the line. You could be there at the Open at Royal Troon, but you could still be talking Packers with Matt Schneidman. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. You would be able to get that information. That's true.
You'd still be able to be talking. And I'm sure he's texting Matt LaFleur. He's texting Jason Waller.
You know
getting,
that.
All the inside scoops of everything going down.
And you'd be able to pick his brain as to which Green Bay Packer rookie he thinks needs to be the most impactful right out of the gates. He'll be able to start weighing some of those opinions on us once the Packers start up their preseason and their training camp coming up on Monday. We will be there, weather permitting. I mean, crying out loud. You had all summer to storm, and we decide the first 3 days of Packers practice, we might be storming in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's keep that off the radar. Let's do it after practice. Maybe when Monday Night Raw is there in Green Bay, it could storm all at once from 7 to 10 coming up on Monday, just not from 10:30 to 12:30 when Packers hit the practice field for the first time in 9 to noon broadcast live from Ray Nitschke Field. A lot of people broadcasting from ACC, SEC media days. In the world of college football, there's a massive change that is obviously coming to the sport here in 2025 or 24, 25. The winter of 25 will end up being the second year that we get to fully understand what we're walking into when you talk about crowning a champion in college football. We know it's going to be different here in 24 with home games in the playoffs, with buys coming up into the playoffs. However, we don't fully know how teams are going to approach the later stages of the football season, with it no longer being you lose a game and you feel like you're essentially out. Go talk to the Georgia Bulldogs a year ago as the 2-time reigning defending national champions, lose to Alabama. You can go and enjoy Florida State in the Orange Bowl. So Dabo Swinney answering some questions yesterday about how him as a leader of one of the more premier institutions in college football, how this might impact November in college football because everybody has their eyes on December in the playoffs.
It's more of, I think, an NFL mindset. There's very few NFL teams that I think, realistically say we're probably not going to lose a game all season, but it's about making the playoffs. That's really what everybody's goal is. And I think that is what will change gradually within the psyche of college football as it expands, and probably will expand more. It's going to become all about the playoffs, which is fine. But I think there's probably unintended consequences for that too. Just like everything in the probably as we see guys opting out of bowl games and things like that, you'll probably see some guys that if they're 4-4 and probably out of the playoffs, probably see some guys head off to Arizona and train. It's probably an unintended consequence. You'll probably see some situations where, like you see in the NFL, the Ravens are in the playoffs. They got locked up, right? They got the bye or whatever, and they got one more game that really means nothing, right? Because it's all about the playoffs. So do you play Lamar in that game?
Now, fascinating final statement there by Dabo Swinney, because it does go to a much more NFL-style model in college football. If you think of more than just there being a semifinal and a final round for the college football playoffs. John, I do believe you could potentially see teams be making business decisions with players later into the season, deciding the fact that certain games, if we know we're in the conference championship game, we need to get ready for that one instead of our final game of the season, say against Minnesota, just as, the Badgers style would be. If they know that they're going to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game, automatic qualifier if you're the Big Ten champion, bye, potentially sitting there as well as Big Ten champion. So you have a lot of reason to then make a business decision there. The business decision that he's mentioning of players dropping out halfway through the season and foregoing the rest of their college seasons, that was one I did not anticipate being able to hear come from Dabo Swinney's mouth, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised if it actually would end up occurring.
We're going to have to see how this plays out, because he's not the only one talking about what could potentially occur and not occur with the playoffs, and why this 12-team playoff is not a perfect scenario based off of what people were hoping that the 12-team playoff would be more entertaining than a 4-team playoff. And we keep saying more is better, more is better, more is better. But this is the NFL industrialization of college football, right? That's what it's turning into. I mean, college players are getting paid some scrun now to play the game for NIL, and whether it's pay to play or pay for NIL, they're getting some money. And then the other side of this is, as playoffs continue to get increased in number of teams, we've seen it happen in professional sports. The more teams that get into the playoffs decentivizes the regular season. And that's the one thing that was still everlasting in college football. The regular season was the greatest. They had the best regular season in all of sports, and every player would play the regular season, and they might shut it down for a meaningless bowl game. And what I mean by meaningless is not in the college football playoffs.
The Las Vegas Bowl or what have you.
Or a New Year's Day Bowl. We've seen guys miss out a New Year's Day Bowl because you know what? If we win that game, what's it matter? Nothing. It's not for the college football playoffs. It's not for the national championship. I'm not going to do it. So I understand that. But now you're talking about guys missing half a season. I mean, I don't necessarily see why that comes into play just because there's a 12-team playoff. But where you could find some screwy situations is, like you said, we're in the SEC championship game. We only lost one game all season. We're ranked number 4 in the country. We don't need to win this game. We'd like to win this game. We win this game, we potentially get a first-round bye, because 4 out of the 5 teams that win their conference championship in the Big 5 get a first-round bye. So we could do that. Or if you're an undefeated Georgia and you already have the SEC, are they in the East or the West? I think the East. If you got the SEC East wrapped up and you're undefeated, do you play your starters the last game of the regular season? You're already going to play in the Big East you're already going to play in the SEC championship game. However, you got to risk the fact, okay, I lose the regular season finale by not playing my players, and then I lose the SEC championship game to whoever, name a team from the West, Alabama, LSU, one of those 2 teams. Okay, now you got a situation where maybe you missed the playoffs altogether. But I don't know if the coaches are going to end up going that route. I'm not too concerned about what Dabo Swinney is saying here. I'm more concerned with what Nick Saban has to say.
Yeah.
Because you already hear about the 12 teams, and you already hear coaches saying, well, if it's 12, we should get the best 12 in. I thought that's why we were going to 12, because we could never get the best 4 in, because we had to have some sort of, narrative vote for the 4th team. I thought we were going to 12 because guess what? You can't put all the best teams in. And if you want to go to the NFL model, just deal with, hey, it's based off of merit. It's based off of what you do. Sometimes the best teams don't get in because they don't win the games they need to get in, even though they're one of the best teams.
Nick Saban answered that question of what he wants to see. The downside of the new format, I just wish we could put the 12 best teams in the playoff, not worry about conference champions and all that kind of stuff. If you get beat in the conference championship game and you're really one of the best teams, you should still get in there because you played really quality opponents and you played good football all year long. My only concern about it is I just want to see the best 12 teams in it. And I think most people want to see the best 12 teams in it. Also saying that at SEC Media Days is an easy thing for Saban, I also think, to bump, because they would believe, and you'd say it to a lot of people down there, John, that are at SEC Media Days, they think like 7 of the top 12 teams in college football will come from the SEC. So it also ends up being what brings you more money and more eyes, what helps you a little bit more. And more than anything of the unintended consequences, I would like us to let this thing play out and actually enjoy 12 teams before we immediately are starting to say, how can we make it bigger again? Right? Like they just tabled yesterday to not make a decision on the 26 college football playoff if they're going to go from 12 to 14 right away, and then offer a double bye to the SEC and Big Ten potential championship winner because they have more teams and their conference is looking more premier than the ACC and Big 12. This measuring contest at some point We are just going to have to let it play out on the field. And I think the automatic qualifiers are the only way to keep it tied together and let it be on the field. So then, John, you just don't have as many people outwardly and, all due respect, kind of rightfully questioning if you're allowing it to be a let it play out on the field kind of championship like you had last year when an undefeated Florida State is sitting there. They're ultimately playing an extra playoff game.
And the SEC has moved away from their divisions, I believe, this year. It's just going to be
SEC and Big Ten. Yeah.
So no division, if you win your East versus West, or same thing in the Big Ten prior, right? Legends and leaders and legends, right? This is now going to be a free-for-all, which is going to be tough. 16 teams in the SEC, 18 in the Big Ten. It's going to be wild how these seasons come to their conclusion. There's a good chance there's going to be 3 or 4 teams in each of these conferences with one loss.
Well, and not only that, it also, in doing it in the Big 12 too, I think they're trying to alleviate some of what Dabo Swinney's talking about, like, John, for the Ohio State Michigan game, final week of the season, saying, okay, these two are 1-2. They're going to play again next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know they're going to play again next week. How are you taking what has been the most looked at game on the schedule year in, year out, take it somewhat lightly? I just don't see either of those doing it, knowing that if you get the automatic qualifier and you get the bye, that's incentive enough to be able to play every single game like a normal regular season game in college football, where it feels like absolutely everything is on the line.
It's kind of sad to say this because the Pac-12 had a really strong year last year and then lost a lot of their strong competition to different conferences, right?
Yeah,
so
just plummeted and exploded.
Yeah, it's gone.
I wouldn't mind
Died.
seeing
Not dead.
Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC. Hey, top 2 teams in there, go. The winner, and now you have incentive to be one of the top 2 teams.
Okay.
Now you have incentive to be one of the top 2 teams. That team goes, both the top 2 teams in those 4 conferences go. The winners of those conferences get a bye. The losers of those conferences have to play in the first round. Now you're making the conference championship games really worth something.
Yeah, big time.
And then who do they play? I'm sorry, if you don't finish first or second in your conference, you don't go.
Yeah.
You just don't go. Play your regular season better, because who do they play? The 4 teams that finished second in the ACC, SEC, Big 10, and Big 12. Well, those teams play the highest ranked 4 teams that aren't in those conferences. I think that's the simplest way to do it. Just do it. And it's merit-based. And I don't care. I really don't care if 3 of the best teams are in the SEC. If you're the 3rd best team in the SEC, sorry for you.
Yeah. But think about the money that we're losing out on. That's our money that we deserve. We deserve because we're bringing it all to college football. I just love the fact that, and everybody's going to have brand loyalty, John, right? And this is not only in college football and all sports and business, what have you. I firmly believe theirs is going to be more valuable. And I love the way it expands, that it is going to be, I think the more it comes to feeling like 2 true premier conferences, SEC and Big Ten and the rest will do, something like you mentioned of actually merit-based and something on paper that you can look at it. This is how your process, your path to the college football playoff will play out. I think we're in that direction, but I don't know how far down the freeway we are, because ultimately there's a whole lot of exits that seemingly everybody wants to take on this college football playoff freeway that we're on, as to getting to the ultimate destination as to what it looks like going forward, because college sports are going to continue to be changing and the landscape is not calming down at all. 414-799-1973. You think that we calm down and not going to find some things to be frustrated about in the top 25 athletes of the top last 25 years? The turn of the century list is complete. The greatest athletes of this full generation, plus 25 years. That's more than a generation. ESPN has put it together. We get to ridicule it coming up next before a Coons Can't Miss on 9 to noon. We have you on 9 to noon, hour 3, our best one of the day, coming your way right now on your iHeartRadio app, streaming live on YouTube. Not X at the moment. Come on, Elon. We'll figure that out for all those X streamers as well coming up. But also on 97.3 The Game, Fox Sports 1070 The Game in Madison, WNFL in Green Bay. We'll be in Green Bay coming up starting Monday as Packers training camp commences. And then the entire station 1 week from Monday are live in Green Bay all week long. We got 3 straight days of practice. We got 4 public practices coming up next week during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, as well as Saturday and Sunday. Now, Saturday, I believe, is that big NFL Network day that they're continuing to push through and have all the teams, all 32 teams on the practice field that day, be able to have reports throughout. I know that's a part of it. But man, it feels like it's coming really quick. It feels like this thing starts up even quicker year in and year out. John, this one is maybe just a tick earlier than generally training camp would open. But maybe it's just because I look forward to it so much all year long that it doesn't feel too early to me. It's early, but too early would be maybe what the CBA and they agree on coming up next is if they extend this training camp another like 3 or 4 weeks. That would be too early. This one's a little early. But it's going to come right on time because I'm excited for some pads to start clashing and some football to start being played.
Yeah, I think it's about right. I think 6 weeks for a football camp is what's necessary. That's what I look for about a speed, for about a timetable there. And I can honestly say that I think the players are crazy for wanting to eliminate the offseason portion and put it before this program. They would truncate it. They would eliminate a couple weeks of that offseason program, but to put that offseason program directly before this program, I think would be absolutely insane. I think it'd be wild. Yeah. I can't believe they're contemplating doing that and having potentially 12 weeks of an offseason / training camp all into one. I mean, how long is spring training?
About a month. About a month for all players, about 6 to 7 weeks for pitchers and catchers.
We're talking about something longer than spring training. And spring training feels long.
It is long.
We're talking about something longer than that. I can't believe they would consider it. 6 weeks to me is the perfect amount of time. You get 2 weeks and then you get your inter squad scrimmage.
Yeah.
Then you start working on your preseason games. You get 3 preseason games, and then you get an off week going into Labor Day, and then you get your first work week of a normal week. So technically it's okay. So it's 6 weeks, but it really boils down to 7 weeks because the regular season starts after Labor Day. So you'd also get that work week as well. This 6-7 week period, this is the perfect with 3 preseason games, a couple scrimmages, maybe inter squad scrimmages with some other teams. I mean, I just think this is a really nice sweet spot here. And if the players want to move that offseason program from 9 to 6 weeks and right before this so they can have a longer break in the offseason, you know what they're going to give up? They're going to give up another preseason game, and they're going to give up another regular season game. And we're going to be sitting at 18 regular season games. We're going to be sitting at 12 weeks of some sort of camp and 2 preseason games during that time. It's going to be too much.
I'm surprised, John, there's seemingly so much support for it. Like and maybe we're just hearing from people that are more in support of it.
I don't, and see, this is what you never know.
Yeah.
You never know where the support actually lies. The loud group in the NFLPA sometimes is the minority. I've been through a lot of CBAs where, the voices that are being yelled upon, that are being echoed, those are not the voices of the majority.
Yeah.
Those are the voices of, so a lot of times it's the big names.
The big ones.
The one thing I thought we got wrong in 2011, and we got a lot of things right, but the one thing I thought we got wrong in 2011 was there was a big push by DeMaurice Smith to have all the big faces, the big names. He wanted all the teams' MVPs to be player reps. Well, guess what? Not all the big names wanted to be reps.
Yeah.
So when it came down to representation, to actually being at the meetings, to being a part of this thing, some of these reps were not there. They were absent, and we had to send people anyways. Sometimes we had to send people that weren't even on the team anymore because they were the last rep before this rep was voted in.
Wow.
It was very messy. It was very messed up. And that's why, I kind of like when a Zach Diassi, a long snapper,
Yes.
is voted in as a rep very early on for the New York Giants. And then he becomes kind of a lifer in the union, and he works his way up into the union's committee. And he's one of the decision makers, one of the 10 decision makers within the union out of the 64 reps. And I like that because it gives a balanced feel, a balanced voice in that whole thing.
Gives a voice to the majority of players, which are not the guys with massive guaranteed money on a contract. And let's be honest, more than anything, John, guaranteed money into next year, right? Like we talked about it with like Jordan Love's contract. The Packers rarely are guaranteeing money later into years of a contract. It's kind of how a lot of different contracts are written too. Like if you have guys that are going year to year, they think about it more from the common man, so to speak, in the NFL. I think that part of it is fascinating to think you take away like the 5 weeks that you get before practice starts up again. And obviously you're not taking full 5 weeks off. You're locking back in, getting yourself ready to show up in the best possible shape. Best shape of your life season is going to fire up on Monday. We're going to hear how many different guys, John, are in their best shape of their lives because of the work that they ended up doing here in the last couple of weeks since they've been off. But Dave,
here's a
need
spoiler.
some time
They're
with
all
your friends and some family.
Well, yeah, and 12, man, that would be it would just be too much. I loved the way the schedule was. In fact, I liked the old schedule. I liked 15 weeks. But I'm a different cat.
Yeah.
I kind of like working with the guys. I kind of like working.
Well, and you use it
with
to
my
your
teammates.
benefit too, to make yourself better even year in and year out too.
Well, I liked working out with my teammates. Some guys don't like working out at their facilities. They want to do their thing with their trainers that they pay a lot of money for, with their nutritionists that they pay a lot of money for. All those people working around their schedule so that it works for them. When you work out with a team, you work around the team's schedule. And I kind of like that atmosphere a little bit better. It was a workman's like atmosphere where you come in, you punch a clock, you do the work they tell you to do. Maybe you do a little bit of extra work, but you have a wide range of time that you can do it. I really like that. And then you're in working with your teammates, you're pushing each other, you're doing it versus, a lot of these you're with other guys around the league. Right. And there's nothing wrong with building those bonds with those other professional athletes that are working with these high-end trainers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I just felt like there was something special, something better being built when you were training and working out with your teammates.
Maybe I'm just looking at, we're speaking of unintended consequences in college football. Maybe I'm just thinking about it too much from that standpoint, but also think of the collateral damage that coaches, I mean, you want to talk about the free time that nobody has in pro football? Coaches, the family and zero downtime that they end up with. You make this thing 12 weeks, John, and then they're rolling through a slowed down version of installs and all of that OTAs all truncated on the back end or on the front end of this grind. Damn, that's like 7 straight months they're going without being really around their loved ones as well. I mean, like, we only talk about the player side of it.
And those first 6 weeks of camp would be something else, but they would be going for 32 weeks straight with a couple of bye weeks that they would get a couple days off for the
couple
bye
days.
Weeks. I mean, you're talking about 32 weeks straight with a couple off days on bye weeks. I mean, that would be a long stretch, a long push right there for the coaching staffs to be able to get through that. So that I guarantee you, they don't want to do that either, because the way the offseason set up for the coaches is it's good. Once you're done with your season, whether it's the regular season or in the playoffs, whenever your season's done, you're still punching a clock, but now you're like a normal person. You're punching 9 to 5. You're punching 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. That's what you're doing. Maybe a little bit of overtime around the combine, maybe a little bit of overtime around the draft, but that's just a couple of days. But you're punching 9 to 5 like a regular person, Monday through Friday, weekends off. And that's included. That's included with the IPWs, the OTAs, right? You're still doing that during that period of time. So you're liking your life in the off season. You start throwing this camp, making it longer.
Game over.
That's a lot harder.
It's a grueling world for coaches in general. We hear about all the exodus coming over from college sports to the pros, because the pros is honestly easier on you personally.
Yeah,
well, now the pros might be gaining a bit of responsibility. It's a tough time to be a coach, but it's a rewarding job, as Billy knows, right? You go in, you're at a
different spot,
smaller
too.
level.
Yeah, a little different. Yeah,
But it's a
different.
smaller
yeah,
level
yep.
though. But it
Mhm.
takes a different breed. You got to want the grind.
Well, in that part of it, I love listening to former players when, John, like it was definitely a thought for you. I know that we've at least had like the conversations of different things around the football department, right? Whether coaching, scouting department could be a thing, things for that nature of former players. One thing I always hear from former players and a commonality of, would you get into coaching? Do you want to? Is, nah, I don't have that kind of time. I don't know that I can make that commitment. It also changes the kind of quality and the types of coaches that you'd end up be getting, I would assume. And the fewer maybe than former players than you already have right now, because it seems like also former players now are finally getting a little bit more credit for the time served in the NFL, just not time served in the coaching ranks. We're like, oh, I just played 12 years in the NFL. I don't want to go back and be an assistant offensive quality control coach getting coffee and writing scripts. I think I might be able to go to a position a little bit earlier. It seemed like that would also be a little different going forward.
But what's even more than that is it's still, I mean, there are good coaches, there are great coaches, there are bad coaches, there are average coaches. At the end of the day, you can be any one of those coaches, but it's a player's game. The players dictate how you look as a coach. I mean, you can coach your ass off and you can be phenomenal, but it still comes down to what the players are doing. And that's how your job is defined by how the players are actually performing on the field. And what a coach can actually do, I mean, there's major impact in the margins, but the margins are thin on what the coaches can actually do to change what these players are capable of.
414-799-1973. NicoletLaw.com talking text line's been open all day long. We've been getting a lot of reaction.
Can we get to Bob?
I was just going to say, we got to get to Bob before
he's asked this question like 4 times.
And I feel so bad, Bob. We've had it earmarked here right at the top, and we've been meaning to get to it. Bob and Tosa, has there been any talk about what color jerseys the Packers will wear in Brazil, seeing the Packers and Eagles can't wear green? John Kuhn, what are they going to wear?
White or green? We're white or green.
And they are the road team, so generally I would assume they were wearing white regardless.
Yeah, they probably. I would anticipate the Eagles probably are going to go. This is still going to be a night game, even though it's going to be hot-ish down there.
It's still going to be warm, yeah.
I mean, I would assume that the Eagles go black, which means the Packers go white, but the Eagles might want to switch it up, and they might want to go white themselves and put the Packers in green because of this whole bad luck reputation. Listen, there is no country law, there is no state law, there is no Sao Paulo law that says you cannot wear green.
Nor unwritten rules with gangsters sitting atop this stadium that it seemingly was being made to be out as.
They're just not going to do that. It's a faux pas because of their rival winning a game there that nobody really wears green in that stadium anymore. But that's for soccer. That's not even for football. So this whole thing's a moot point. We've actually had Brazilians, Sao Pauloans, coming out saying
and get pissed about
it. This
is
is stupid. We're all going to wear green. We're going to wear our Packers colors inside the stadium, and we're not going to die while we're doing it.
You actually brought up maybe my favorite idea, though. If I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm pushing this narrative. Hey, what we are doing is we are going to force the Green Bay Packers to wear green. We're going to wear our whites. You're going to wear our green. We're not going to wear our blacks. You thought we were going to wear we're going to make you guys as unlucky as possible. So take that, boys. Sucks to suck. You guys are going to have to do it. All right. We are going to, I hear something in the background. We are not going to hear more Ludacris in first. Instead, we got to hear a winner. First, before we take a timeout, we got to give a lock. We got to give a guarantee. What that means is
struggle town for Nick today. Look at him. He's like, damn, I got it.
But listen,
it's a great
Nick,
point, guys.
Who's running the clock here, Nick? You or Billy?
a quick change.
Billy, he's the captain now. We're losing our asses off here, boys. We need football season to get here as soon as possible. I need some high school games to hit the lines. I need some college games to hit the lines. I need anything up on there. I need some action, baby. Some action, because Tommy Fleetwood soiled his pants yesterday shooting this morning, yesterday, whatever you want to call it, shooting 5 over. McIntyre did not too bad, shot 1 over. He's there in the hunt. He's somewhere around like 20th place because the scores are hard to come by. Chuck Garbinian told us how tough the course is, and it was tougher for Fleetwood than McIntyre. So I lost that one. McIntyre, 2 weeks in a row, looking to be a darling. Did it last week. He's looking to start off the right way here again. And listen, if you love the Open, if you like the Open, I can promise you one place you can watch the Open when they tee off this morning at 12:30 a.m. And that's at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. If you want to catch the live action from the Open, they will be open and they will be ready to entertain you at 12:30 a.m. in one of their 200 plush seats of leather recliners or couches or high top chairs, or maybe you want to sit at that glorious bar so you can play a little video poker while watching the 2,000 square foot LED screen. There's nothing better outside of Vegas, and it's in fact better than most things inside of Vegas too. So make your way down to Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook and check out any of the action going on today. Now, not gonna bet on the Open anymore. You know why? Because I can't pull up the line yet for tomorrow because it's still going on right now. I got to wait for the action to end today before they set the lines for tomorrow. So we are going to do Summer League. We are going to do Summer League because it's the only thing going on. WNBA ended last night for their All-Star / Olympic break, which lasts about a month. That's crazy when you think, by the way, absolutely blew up last night. Did something no WNBA player has ever done. And I didn't say rookie, I said player. So our little talk about rookie of the year yesterday, very timely. Maybe she listens to the show as well, Billy. Summer League today, Los Angeles Lakers, Cleveland Cavaliers. I know nothing about either of these two teams other than the fact that Bronny has been struggling until last night. He hit a game-tying three-pointer. It's the first three-pointer he's made in all of Summer League. So he is shooting 5%. He's 1 for 20. He's shooting 5%.
Would be better to be 4 for 20, but
I feel excuse me?
It'd be better to be 4 for 20 if he was that, but you just got to get better.
Yeah,
he's got to get better.
I see what you're saying there. I bet if you gave me 20 shots in an NBA Summer League game, I'd hit one.
I got confidence in you. You would.
One shot, 1 in 20.
Yeah.
1 in 20.
He didn't have any confidence stepping into any of them yesterday. I watched like 7 whole minutes of an NBA Summer League game yesterday, John. You would have swore he was the 1, 2, and 3 pick in the draft by the broadcast talking about Bronny. 4 points. Oh my God, he's 2 of 2 from the floor on a couple of 5-foot jumpers.
Did you see Jaylen Brown on the sideline sitting there with Angel Reese?
How about that?
Some other, I think she's an influencer sitting with Angel Reese, and professional mouth readers don't go anywhere these days and think you're not going to get mouth read. They will mouth read. Start covering your mouth with your program, with your play call, with your play sheet, like Sean McVay and the rest of them, because they will catch you. Jaylen Brown said, I don't think Bronny's an NBA player. Came right out and said it. And you know what? Hoopers hoop. Doug Gottlieb told me that many years ago, and hoopers know other hoopers. Bronny, man, it ain't looking good for you.
Yeah, he's saying it's not looking good. How about that being Jaylen Brown's, he said his date, the one that's sitting in between him and Angel Reese, who she's a teammate of Angel Reese's. There's also some pictures coming out of Jaylen Brown as they were exiting the arena, and some people thinking that there could have been, like a championship belt for Jaylen Brown because felt like there was an end game there in that Las Vegas grouping. It was the internet was peak as Jaylen Brown was exiting the arena with Angel Reese and his young lady who I cannot pronounce her name. I tried, and it was going to be really
Jaylen Brown's a champion. He
sounds like he might be a real champion.
Tag team champion?
Yeah, sounds like he might be a real champion.
He's a single man tag team. Yeah. He's taking 2-on-1.
Yep.
Okay, I understand how that works.
Handicap match.
Very good for him. Okay, we're going to do a simple line here. Total points. LA Lakers, Cleveland Cavaliers. Heavy favorite to Cleveland Cavaliers are, but if I'm going to bet a point line in Summer League, I'd be an absolute degenerate. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a total points in this game, and I'm going to pick odd total points. How about that bet? I got a 50-50 shot of making this thing right and getting back on the winning slate. There's no better bet out there if you want a chance to win than taking total points odd even in Lakers Cleveland Cavaliers. And then you can get an early look at what Bronny James looks like if you haven't seen it yet. Spoiler, it isn't too good.
Yeah, spoiler, it's not that great.
Odd total points in Lakers Cavaliers Summer League game.
Man, I'm sorry, Bronny. It's not good right now. But hey, could get better. Could get better. Don in Caledonia, it is going to get better. He hit the talking text line. Wait a second here, Billy. You put me on blast yesterday. And what happened with the can't miss again? It's all good. He's on a losing streak. We've all been there. Turn it around. Well, Don, we just turned it around there with a Coons can't miss in Summer League action. And how about you? How about we fire up a Don's can't miss every once in a while? Because you're listening to Don in Caledonia on the talking text line. Seems like my man is just getting W's left and right. So let's see some locks here coming in from Don, and then we'll really start judging. We'll start handing out locks. Football season is right around the corner. Secure your bankroll. Save it, put it in a nice place. This is where you want that war chest. This is where you want that Packers style $400 billion to be able to throw right here in the back and then just offload it come football and take it all coming from Potawatomi Sportsbook. All right. We mentioned that top 100 list. How about we dive into the number one athlete of the 21st century, according to ESPN? We made our suggestions. We had our guesses yesterday. We're wrong. We'll find out who is the number one athlete of the 21st century, according to ESPN, on the other side. And then round third, head for home and hand it off to Jocko in about 30 minutes. It's 9 to noon on the game. Inside the Iron Jock studios, it's 9 to noon. Thanks for hanging out. Iron Jock right now has an offer for you if you are trying to, let's be honest, get yourself to a new level here in 2024. Maybe you just started jogging. Our guy John Kuhn started jogging. John, we had a 5.8 mile started back up again off of the Peloton just a couple of days ago, right? 5.8. We back out there.
Yeah, I was stuck up in Door County and I was itching really bad. So I was like, all right, let's go old school and do a jog. And let me tell you, now I know why I stopped.
Yeah, pretty quickly. But you fire up 5.8 miles. That's not like, oh, well, I just roll out of bed and I'll just run 5.8 miles, right? Like, I mean, that's an impressive feat right there.
It was not fast. It took an hour. But there is one humongous hill that I had to do, and I did it. But yeah, it was not fast. This is what you forget. It takes a toll on your feet.
Like a big time. Yes.
Your feet hurt. And what I mean by that is like every little inch, like your toes, your toenails, like every little part of it ends up getting sore.
And you just realize, holy cow, why was I running on cinder blocks?
And no, I'm not getting Hokas. So quit asking.
So quit asking. It ain't happening. I ain't wearing those pillows. But what you might be wearing, Iron Jock joggers, because they're going to become your favorite sweatpants right there. Even if you don't jog, you can enjoy them and you can wear them day after day after day and not stink. Thanks to Iron Jock. Now through July 21st, when you buy $65 or more, use promo code 25SUMMER and Iron Jock will give you 25% off your entire purchase. It's ironjock.com for more details. That's ironjoc.com. A lot of training, a lot of running, a lot of hours in the gym for these 25 men and women that have found themselves atop the ESPN all-time, well, not all-time, since 2000, top 100 professional athletes since the turn of the 21st century list that we have been having a whole lot of fun dissecting for the last couple of days. John, we fired out our guesses for who would be number one coming up. There was a real feeling that it could be Tiger Woods, who we've mentioned a couple of times here today. We thought that it just might be LeBron James, number one player since the turn of the 21st century. Is it going to be a soccer player, something that we had not even thought of? I know Messi going to win this thing. Nope.
We said everybody in the top 10, but I would not have picked this one.
Except for the number one athlete since 2000, according to ESPN, Michael Phelps. Record 28-time Olympic medalist, 23-time gold medalist, most gold medals in a single Olympics when he won 8 at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And they continue the write-up of more than any athlete in any single Olympics with those 8 gold medals in 2008 while breaking world records in 7 of the 8 races. I'll be honest, I don't know that I'm going to argue it because I do now remember just how intoxicating that run was as, you know, an 8th grader that John could not swim. I would sink right to the bottom as possible as a pear-shaped individual. I was amazed by what this cat was doing, not only just being seemingly built in a lab to be a swimmer with like partially maybe like webbed feet or whatever, the longest arms you possibly could have. Mm-hmm. That was just a specimen that I was in awe of watching in the 2008 Olympic Games when he was the most dominant human being seemingly on the planet.
I would not argue it either. Clearly, this is about accolades and dominance, and Michael Phelps has both of those. He dominated throughout his career and for a long period of time as well. I remember him in the 2020 Olympics, and you were rooting for him to get a gold there just to add to the collection of golds that he had already had. Now, when you talk about Olympians doing it for 4 different Olympiads, that's 12 years long. That's as long as my NFL career in the Olympics. And that's amazing. And I think he even competed in the 2004 Olympics as well. So I think that was 5 total Olympics in a 16-year span that he was at the top of his game. And then not just being at the top of his game, but dominating the way he did as well. And yes, I remember it very well too, Billy. Every one of those races, you were locked in to Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps. And it was just win after win. And there were the close ones where he'd win by hitting the wall just before the favorite. And then there'd be the blowout wins where he'd win by, 60 meters. And you'd say, gosh, this guy is unbelievable. I would not argue this with Michael Phelps. Serena Williams comes in number 2. I think that's who we both thought could potentially be
Mhm.
number 1, because again, the dominance, 23-time major champion, not the most major championships in tennis. That goes to Djokovic, who's a little further down on this list. So she's not the most, but the most dominant, right? The most dominant was Serena Williams as far as tennis. Lionel Messi, number 3. This is where I have a problem.
There we go.
LeBron James and Tom Brady. I'm not going to make a mountain out of a molehill in this thing,
Mhm.
but Tom Brady in the sport with the most parity, being number 5, and his accomplishments, his accomplishments in a team game exceed that of Lionel Messi. I think Tom Brady should be higher. I personally would have put Tom Brady at number 1. Michael Phelps, though, I think deserves number 1 because he was so dominant. I don't know how tough the field is versus, the field in the team game with Tom Brady. My only knock is Tom Brady at number 5, I think should be higher, but everything else on here kind of fits. Another interesting one is Roger Federer at number 6. He's got 20 major singles titles, when both Nadal and Djokovic have more major singles titles. So how does that kind of pan out, that he's the highest of the 4 or the highest of the 3, and he's got the least singles titles? So accomplishment and whatnot. Some of this is about the craze that followed them as well.
That
And
seems to be it.
All of these athletes have phenomenal craze at the top of this list. Look at this list, man. It's fascinating.
The top 5 is awesome. I mean, like, you do think of like the top 5, and those are some of the most dominant athletes of the turn of the century. No doubt about it. Completely understand. I'm with you on Brady. I would have put him higher, and he would have been at least 3 to me. Like, he would have been above LeBron simply. And I think part of the reason why is the move to Tampa to then be able to do it with another program, right? To then showcase, John, that he was the program, right? Like, that's one thing I don't believe LeBron gets nearly enough credit for, of doing it with multiple different franchises, is you then become the culture, right? Then you come and institute the culture of a winning culture into another program. Brady being able to do that in Tampa in the midst of the pandemic, maybe one of the greatest sports achievements that I've ever witnessed. And I don't know that with all the context around it, it will be duplicated, in my estimation, just from my opinion, because of all that goes into your entire career, already maybe the greatest of all time in a career in the sport, to then say, all right, well, we can't necessarily be in the building. We can't actually look our teammates in the mouth, right? We can't actually look at their mouth and see what they say.
And he's going to take his teammates to the park, and they're going to get in trouble for playing football in a park. And
or they win all these playoff games on the road.
Win all of them on the road, and then the Super Bowl at home. And people forget that. They didn't play one home game until the Super Bowl, and he was the first home champion in a Super Bowl. I mean,
and they donkey stomped the Chiefs.
Everything was really cool about it. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and everything to go with that. I mean, yes, it was fascinating, but you talk about craze and marketability. That's the top 5. How about the next 5? Federer, Simone Biles, Tiger Woods, Usain Bolt, Kobe Bryant. I mean, we are talking about pantheon athletes here, and I don't think you can really complain with any of them. Obviously, we are partial to football. We'd like to see Tom Brady a little higher, but every single one of those names we said as a possible number 1. We said every single one of these names over the last 3 days as a possible number 1. They all fit right in the top 10 perfect.
1,000%. And 5 titles for Kobe Bryant, deserves to be there sitting at number 10. I fully believe, in front of Djokovic, Nadal and Novak Djokovic. Number 13, Ronaldo. He's going to go down as one of the greatest soccer players of all time. Steph Curry, number 14. Again, like, I don't know that I'm moving anybody else in front of him, but I'm glad that he gets what feels like very, very just due for how his craze went in how he changed basketball for that.
Yeah, and let me ask you. So we're talking about top 10. I said I wouldn't take I would not even think to take one of these people out of the top 10. We said every single one of these names. I even remember you saying Michael Phelps the first day, and I kind of said, ha ha, he. Yeah, he very accomplished. I would expect him high. I didn't expect him number 1, but it fits. I understand the dominance fits. I wouldn't take one of these people out of the top 10.
No,
I would not take. I would leave them all exactly where they are. But it asks the question: where's baseball? Right? Football is represented. Basketball is represented. Where's baseball?
Baseball is represented all the way down at number 24 on the list. And the player is 1,000% right. The greatest player that I've been able to witness in my lifetime, it's Albert Pujols. The best hitter I've ever seen in baseball in my lifetime, outside of Barry Bonds, who did so much of his career before 2000, which was the disclaimer here. Pujols is a 3-time MVP, 11-time All-Star, multiple-time Gold Glove winner, 700 home runs. And
is that not enough to get in the top 10?
It's not enough to get above Kevin Garnett. I mean, like, okay, anything's possible. Fantastic. Great. Mess up the slogan. You can't tell me that that's not better than Kevin Garnett's all-stars and all defensive team, an 8-time all NBA selection, and 1 title. That's where I really started getting a little bit peeved on this situation. Kevin Garnett? Like, I didn't anticipate that being at all a part of the conversation. I get Tim Duncan being in the top 20. Has to be. Steph Curry, absolutely.
What do you guys make of Floyd at 25 too, right? I mean, dude was 50-0.
He never lost a match. So he was clearly
yeah.
dominant. He was clearly as dominant as can be. I wish he wouldn't have ducked some of the fights that he had with fighters in their prime. But even with that, strategically, he picked his opponents well. He made a boatload of money, and he never lost. So because of that, hey, he's got to be there.
He's got to be in the conversation.
He would be higher.
Yeah, but John hit it on the head. Ducked too many big-time names, too many big-time fights in their primes. And let's be honest, if he was a better human being, people would probably put him higher up on the list. Like, I mean, there's also some of this is who people really, really enjoy, who people really, really like. I think that's another reason why you see certain guys in here. Pat Mahomes comes in 18, 3-time champion, 3-time MVP, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time NFL MVP. The only guy that might be able to launch himself into the top 10 when they redo this list in 2015.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because here's the deal. He's already since 2017 done half of what Brady did in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty impressive. And I think he does deserve to be the second NFL player on this list, the second football player on this list. I think it does. I think it's fitting that it is Patrick Mahomes, because he's done the most of anybody not named Tom Brady.
Any issue with the only non-quarterback in the top 25 and the highest non-quarterback on the list for the football side, Aaron Donald at number 20?
No, because this is clearly about accolades and dominance, and he was every bit of that throughout his time.
3-time defensive player of the year, 2010 all-decade team, defensive rookie of the year in 14. And I also love how Aaron Donald said that he tied it up together. Perfect storybook ending. 10 years, got himself a title, 10-time Pro Bowler, and one of the most dominant figures that football has been able to see in number 90 for the LA Rams. And luckily, we don't have to see him coming up here in 2024. I'm excited about that.
I kind of think it's a bummer for the NFL. 10 years. That's it. That's all you got out of Aaron Donald. Got a great 10 years out of him, but that's it. One of the best to ever do it. If maybe the best interior lineman to ever do it.
Maybe
10 years.
Yeah. And we got to see a couple of the greatest ones, and they're both on this list of JJ Watt and Aaron Donald. We'll round third. We'll head for home and tie things together. Coming up next, it's 9 to noon on The Game. The internet is a wonderful place. It's 9 to noon on the game because it brings us things like Kurt Benkert, John Kuhn, doing live stream videos of him playing NCAA, pardon me, EA Sports College Football 2025. Got to stop putting NCAA in there. They are upset. They want people to cease that. They are not affiliated with this game. It is College Football 25. So you guys get it right.
What a bunch of sorry losers. Oh, I mean, that's pathetic.
Yep.
That is pathetic.
Didn't go their side. Didn't get any cash about it. Stop saying NCAA. It's NCAA. And you're lucky that we're not saying 2K with it as well. But so Kurt Benkert posting all these videos and, like I said, streaming himself playing. The interesting thing about the stream is put yourself in a very, very small box in the bottom corner. So Kurt is playing as the Georgia Bulldogs and posts this video of him with a audible corner route to the running back out of the backfield, John sitting in shotgun, 2x2 set, and then scores a touchdown. So this made me feel like Vincent Van Gogh. Chad Ochocinco commented on it. I'm studying you as Kurt Benkert and will beat you whenever you have some time. Hell yeah, Ochocinco.
Yeah,
let's step on that neck and get that match that we all need right now.
We're taking smack talk from the football field to the football field on the television screen. Hey, I always thought, and I still think, the best job in the world would be to be good at golf and to do it for 30 years and just make money, tour all over the place, and play the best golf in the world. I still think that would be the best job in the world. Man, close second, playing video game. If you're good enough to play video games and get paid doing it like Ninja, like Kurt Benkert, like some
Sketch.
of these people, hey man, congratulations for you. Hopefully you're outside still getting some exercise. Hopefully it's not just the only thing you do.
Sure.
Maybe you go for a bike ride. Maybe you go for a walk. Hopefully you see the sun and the sun sees you, right? Get your vitamin D and
live a little bit of life.
But man, I mean, how good is that? You're playing video games and recording it while me and Billy are doing show calls and talking with Ted Red Hot Tim Scott about how to hook up a remote. Like that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing while I'm just salivating at the thought of being able to sit in my bedroom and play. It does give a real middle finger to the statement your mom would do of quit wasting your life away playing those games. You're not doing anything with that. Well, I watched the Bucks wheel out the 2K team that they have. All them jokers are making bigger salaries than me. So congratulations. To them. Congratulations to them.
Here's the deal, Ma. Here's the deal. I can go places playing video games. I can now. So make me some meatloaf, please, Ma. Meatloaf.
We want it now. I'm just waiting for some kid to come down with a full checklist of, Mom, here's the deal. I can't hit a curveball. Not going to be a baseball player. I'm not 6'6". Not going to be in the NBA. I'm 148 pounds. Not going to be in the NFL. This is my best chance to make it as an athlete, all right? My best chance to make it as a professional. So this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm going to try. Maybe that's what Lewis Hamilton said when he became the 17th greatest athlete, being a race car driver.
You know, I don't know if this is good or bad, but the one thing I can say about Grammy is she never told me not to do something. She never told me not that I couldn't be this, that I couldn't be that. She never said that. In fact, she let me play video games as late as I wanted to play video games. As long as I got great, as long as I came home with that report card and it said A's and B's, she didn't care. She didn't care.
Nick, you heard that, right?
Yeah, I heard
Grammy.
I heard it.
There was a little bit of a misstep yesterday for our young Nick Bruce.
Missteps.
John, he thought Grammy was your grandmother.
Nope. She is. She is a grandmother.
To your children
Is
how I understand it.
She is a grandmother.
Yeah. Started explaining it, and I think he was giving even more proud. I was like, holy cow, John's grandmother's out here ripping fireball shots.
That's all I'm saying. I was like, I thought it was John's grandmother who was eating a Billy Brat and having a good time at Nooner Day.
No. Now Nanny would have ripped the Billy Brat, no problem. She would have. Yeah.
She likes the spice. She's smart.
That was my grandmother.
Yeah.
That was my grandmother.
No, Grammy is one of the best times that you're going to be able to have. And she really has become, John, if we're going to be completely honest, she might have become the star of Nooner Day. Like there were more people seemingly as that's Grammy. I get a picture.
You know, that's the way it goes. She was a star all through high school too. Right.
It's awesome.
Like, hey, going to Six Flags. Is your mom taking you? Yeah, I'm in.
I'm coming.
Listen, if your mom is taking us to Six Flags, if she's taking us to Hershey Park, if she's taking us to Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom, heck, if she's taking us to Poconos or Knoebels Grove, we don't care because Grammy's a damn good time. We're going with
Damn
Grammy.
right. Damn good time. And that's your Quick Trip takeaway of the day, brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find spaghetti, chicken Alfredo, some meatballs even in attendance as well at Quick Trip. Go and grab yourself some of that coming up tonight, or Culver's, since it is Culver's Day across the state of Wisconsin. John, we're going to do this one more time tomorrow, and we are going to run right through that finish line of the slowest sports week in the sports calendar. But sports come back tomorrow, thanks to the Milwaukee Brewers, and our guy Paul Wagner joins the show coming up again tomorrow, coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll talk some Crew as they start the official second half of the season, really their final 65-game sprint to the postseason for the Milwaukee Brewers. For John Kuhn, Nick Brusewitz, I'm Billy Schmid. We'll somehow try to be better tomorrow. Going to be hard to top what we just laid out for you here today on 9 to noon, statewide on the game.